Today, we're taking our version of Roush's Stage 3 F-150 out for a tire smoking payoff. We've built 500 ponies into this once tame truck to make it one fast cargo hauler. Then we're back in the shop for even more horsepower as we put the Go Fast hardware into the Haulin S-10. That's all today here on Trucks.
Hey, I hope you're ready, because today on Trucks, we're going to show you what a 500 horsepower blown, lowered, and decked out Roush Stage 3 F-150 pickup can do.
We used their Stage 3 components to make our own version of a late model muscle truck that looks as good as it performs, thanks to a 2-3 suspension drop, 20-inch wheels, BFG performance tires, and a handful of visual add-ons from Roush's catalog.
Now, every step of this Roush conversion, you guys can do at home with some pretty simple tools. But if you're not sure about your skills, or you frankly just don't have the time, you can go to a Ford dealer and order a Stage 3 pickup. Either way, you get a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty that backs up all this good looks and muscle. Ready? Well, that sounds good. You want a driving impression? Well, this Stage 3 is a rocket. The beefy look matches the performance, and no matter what speed you're going, stab the throttle, and this truck literally throws you back in the seat.
Yes, sir. And
that blower whine makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck.
Our 0 to 60 times have shrunk to 6.9 seconds, and the Hyper Pack tells us that our quarter mile is down to 15.2 seconds. With the cone set to our stock 140-foot measurements, it's no surprise that the larger and heavier wheels and tires stretched our stopping distance.
Looks like we went about 3/4 of a truck length too far.
Well, we just ate a Yugo, man.
At least. We need to tighten that up a little bit.
Yeah.
Watch out, the whip. Yes.
Now, you guys just saw how well this Roush-equipped F-150 performs. This thing will tear up any street. But when we decided to see how well it was going to stop, well, that was a different story. Because by adding the extra weight and rolling mass of our 20-inch wheels and tires, we increased our stopping distance by 15 feet. Now, 15 feet may not sound like much, but that can mean the difference between a successful panic stop and a serious rear-end collision.
Now, there is a way to offset that extra weight and reel this already heavy truck back to a safer stopping distance. That's with lighter and more effective brakes. And believe it or not, these aluminum Force 10 calipers from stainless steel brakes are half the weight of the stockers. And anytime you can reduce unsprung weight, well, you're on the right path. Now, these rotors are zinc plated for corrosion resistance and slotted for cooler braking performance. Now, the kit also includes Hawk carbon metallic pads, and trust me, these are good pads. I run them in my road race car.
Now, even though this truck now runs like a scalded dog, it can still handle a pretty good payload. It's still a truck. And you want to think about protecting all that pretty paint in the back with a brand new truck or any other truck. So a lot of guys drop in a bed liner. The problem with some bed liners is that they can act like a launch pad for your cargo. Especially with all the new power and the badass brakes we just put on this F-150. But this dual liner modular system utilizes this thick rubber pad that's going to protect your bed and make sure that what you put in the back of your truck stays where you put it. It starts with the front panel, followed by the sides that are held in place with push pins and the factory tie-down brackets. The tailgate liner bolts on with factory hardware, and the rubber mat, it just drops into place. We ready?
Let's do it. I'll get the door.
I'll get the truck. With new pads and rotors all the way around and lightweight calipers up front, the stainless steel brakes feel better immediately, even under normal driving. So we'll take another stab at a hard braking test.
There we go. That's good. Now we're right back to stock.
There is no mistaking this truck with a stock F-150. Effortless wheel spin, great handling, massive amounts of power come together in one seriously mean machine.
Well, I think it's safe to say our lightning itch has definitely been scratched.
Now that was awesome. But we're gonna switch gears now, and I know you guys remember Project S-10K from a while back. It was a little experiment we conducted to see if we could build a budget muscle truck. And it turned out great, and we accomplished our goals. But like all good things, it'll eventually come to an end.
But you know, some things deserve a second chance, and we believe in reincarnation, at least for trucks anyway. So we said goodbye to S-10K and said hello to Haulin S-10.
We stripped it back down to basics and started out with S&W's back half kit that included a narrow 9-inch housing. We loaded it with a third member that sports a Detroit locker and a strange nodular center section turning 456 gears, and finished it off with Curry 31 spline axles.
Then we threw in a Borgeson manual steering box, Global West upper and lower control arms up front, as well as Aerospace Components drag race brake package all the way around. But the icing on the cake, these huge Mickey Thompson wheels and tires. Now these bad boys are going to give us the traction that it's going to take to hook up a whole bunch of muscle up front. Now there's no mistaking what this chassis is built for, hence the new name of the project, Haulin S-10.
All these nice new parts, well, they look great, but the whole reason for loading this truck down with such heavy-duty parts is so this thing can handle massive amounts of horsepower and torque. So we have got to deliver when it comes to an engine and transmission package. Otherwise, this thing's gonna fall into the all-show, no-go category. And this is trucks, and we're not gonna let that happen.
Now, engineering a Pro Street truck takes a lot of planning and a lot more work. But when it all comes together, you get this potent package of a street-legal rig that holds its own at the track and makes one hell of a statement doing it.
Up next, it's another blower motor, but this one's got even more power. We're dropping over 600 horses into our Pro Street drag truck, Haulin S-10. So stick around.
You good, Scott?
Doing good.
Hey, welcome back to Trucks. Well, I know if you've ever hung out at a drag strip or even seen drags on TV, you've watched vehicles like this one go down the track with huge tires out back, little pizza cutters up front, and the message that they send is loud and clear. A very quick vehicle.
Now, all along, we've been telling you guys we're gonna put some serious motivation in the front of Haulin S-10. Well, check this out. That day is finally here. And not only does this thing look like $1 million, the guys at ATK have assembled all the right hardware for our truck. And this thing ought to be more than enough to fill that empty spot in between our front frame rails.
Yeah, because right now this is a seriously lonely place. But Scott Miller and Mark Johnson from ATK Engines have been kind enough to come all the way out here from Dallas, Texas to help correct the problem that we got. Scott, tell me a little bit about ATK.
Well, in 1936, ATK Vega started remanufacturing engines. This year we're on a pace to deliver 50,000 engines to our aftermarket customers.
And you guys just started your new performance division too.
About a year ago, we entered into the performance engine business, and we developed 3 stages of engines. The first stage is a 300 to 350 horsepower street performance engine. The second stage are a little more complete with fuel and ignition. And the third stage are full-blown race engines, which we've brought here today.
Now, I know you guys offer a warranty on the remanufactured engines, but you also have one of the stage 1 and 2 performance engines, right?
Yes, we do. We offer a 24-month unlimited mile warranty nationwide on our high-performance engines.
Now, with us today is the guy that put this stout combination together. And before coming to ATK, Mark Johnson spent over 20 years with multi-time world champion engine builders Rare and Morrison, and has put together engines for just about every type of racing. So Mark, tell us what's inside our engine.
Well, the guys at Lanati have supplied us with some really great parts. What we have here is a crankshaft from Lanati. It's their 4340 non-twist forging. Crank pins have been drilled for easy balancing, nitrided, and fully polished. For connecting rods, we have the Lanati 4340 style Pro Mod rods, 6-inch rod, fully floated wrist pin with ARP bolts.
Now Mark, these are obviously great parts for any high-performance application. But since you've strapped a blower to ours, why not a cast piston?
Well, a cast piston was never designed for a performance engine. A forged piston is your piston of choice for any performance application. It'll hold up to the extreme temperatures, pressures, and cycle time of a performance engine. We chose this piston to go along with the cylinder heads that we're using with this deep dish to maintain a compression ratio to go along with this blower and the boost that we're going to run. The rings that we're using for these pistons is a 16th, 16th, 3/16 ring combination, with the top ring being a moly-faced ring, second ring being a cast ring, and a 3/16 low tension oil control ring. Wrist pins are a heavy wall tool steel wrist pin that are retained in the piston with spiral locks. The camshaft we've chosen is a Lanati solid billet camshaft. It's for a solid roller lifter application, has 600 lift, 248 degrees duration intake, 252 degrees duration exhaust on 112 centerline.
That's a solid foundation to build off of. What do we have bolted on top of all that?
Well, on the top we have a pair of 750 Holley carburetors that are blower specific. We have a 671 Wyand blower kit. We have a pair of aluminum trick flow cylinder heads with some crane shaft mounted roller rocker arms, and we're going to light this baby off with an MSD ignition.
Man, this thing looks great. I cannot wait to get it in the truck. I just want to thank you guys for driving all the way up here and dropping this thing off with us.
Well, thanks for having us, and let us know how things work out.
Yeah, definitely. We'll keep you posted. The stock V6 mounts are replaced with new urethane mounts we got from Prothane. This 7-quart Mylodon rear sump oil pan is designed specifically for a V8 S-10. It fits level with the bottom of the front crossmember for 0 ground clearance issues.
Now that's one bad tranny shredder. So after the break, we'll take delivery of a Turbo 400 that's built tough enough for the racetrack. Stay tuned.
Hey, welcome back to Trucks. Now we finally have enough power in between our front frame rails to turn those big Mickey Thompson tires. But that's only half the equation. Now if you've ever heard a transmission come apart under a hard launch, well, it ain't pretty. And that's never gonna happen to our Haulin S-10.
And that's thanks to this guy right here, Mark Bowler from Bowler Performance Transmissions. Mark, tell me about this case. This is beautiful.
Thank you. This is one of the services we offer to our customers. We'll actually take and smooth the case, take all the casting and marks off from it. We can leave it that way, or we can actually take it to the next level and custom paint it.
But it's beautiful. There's layers of airbrush work. It is buried and clear. It's awesome.
Thank you. Let me show you what we brought you today.
Well, I love the color, man. This thing looks great. Well, we've talked about what kind of horsepower we're going to be throwing at this transmission, so you know we need something strong, but we need something light too. Weight savings is always a factor. So why the heavier Turbo 400 and not the 350?
Well, everything we actually build is custom built to specification. And whenever you called me and told me what you're doing with the vehicle, the horsepower and torque that you're going to be creating, I knew the 350 would not be suitable for your needs. So we stepped it up a notch, built you the better 400 transmission.
You guys have done some smoothing on this case, but it's not just cosmetic, is it?
No, there's actually more to the madness than just making it look pretty. There is actually some strengthening idea behind it.
Right, it smooths over the weak points and eliminates them. Now, obviously the case is stronger, but so are the internals. Tell me about what you got going on inside here.
Basically, 400 is very strong from stock standpoint, but whenever you're throwing the amount of horsepower and torque that you guys are, we had to address some things on the internals. The intermediate sprag is actually one of the weak points of the transmission. And what we've done, if you see on the original sprag, it actually only has an 8-element spring and roller type sprag, very weak. So we actually go in and upgrade it to a 36-element roller style sprag. So we actually do a custom race, the external race and spline and sprag. Makes it much more strong and durable.
Now, this is a stock input shaft, and this is a Bowler input shaft. What's the difference?
Basically, the stock input shaft on the 400 is prone to breaking under high horsepower and high torque applications. So we actually upgraded you to the billet input shaft. It's a completely custom machine 300M material. It basically eliminates the breakage problem.
Now, the machining on this hub is a lot more detailed, a lot more intricate. Is there a difference in the metal as well?
There is a difference in the metal. If you notice, the stock piece is actually a cast piece, so the strength is not there. The number one failure is actually it splits the spline where the input shaft or the intermediate shaft goes into. On the new one here, it's actually machined out of 300M material, much stronger. We get rid of all the sharp edges to add strength. Much stronger area here where the spline goes into as well. Another area that we address is actually the planetary gear sets. And basically this is an area of the transmission you actually can customize and set up the first and second gear ratio to best suit your needs. This is a stock 4-pinion planet. This is the upgraded 5-pinion planet setup. And this is available for both the front and the rear planet setup. There is the rear the stock 4-pinion and the updated 5. The main advantage to that is actually to help dissipate the pressure points on the sun gear. And here's our upgraded intermediate shaft.
Now, some people don't seem to think this is necessary, but you guys don't like to leave any weak links, do you?
It's just a cheap insurance.
Now, the torque converter allows communication between the engine and the rest of the drive line, so tell me about this one.
This is actually one of our custom 9-inch billet converters. If you notice on the back of it, it is actually completely machined out of billet material. We can actually set everything up for the right flex plate you run as far as the bolt circle, also on the pilot. That way if you run a mid plate, we can set the depth properly for it. On the front of it, you'll actually notice that we actually run an anti-balloon plate, or if you're running as much horsepower and torque as you are, it's something that you need.
That's the great thing about your transmission, is it's totally designed for our vehicle, and you guys cover all the bases. There are no weak links, and we got a great looking case to boot.
And we actually dyno test every transmission, that way it's proven strong when it comes to you.
Well, that's good, because we are going to lean on this joker.
That's what we like to hear.
Over the break, the guys will get our Turbo 400 in the truck. And when we come back, it's time for the last piece of our driveline puzzle.
Hey, welcome back to Trucks. Talk about a Jekyll and Hyde transformation. Our S-10 is now a completely different animal, thanks to our S&W back half and our Mickey Thompson wheels and tires.
But the icing on the cake is this ATK 355-inch small block topped off by the legendary YN671 blower, making this package capable of a little north of 600 horsepower.
But we still need a way to transfer that power to the rear axle, and the old stock drive shaft was made for a V6, so obviously it's not going to cut it. So Denny's drive shaft sent us this great-looking 2-piece steel shaft that features a heavy-duty urethane support bearing that'll give us a nice smooth rotation, because this thing's balanced all the way up to 7,000 RPM.
Well, I know some of you are wondering, why don't we use a one-piece drive shaft with all that power? Well, this is a long wheelbase S10, and unless the drive shaft was a huge diameter, a one-piece would bow under the torque and high RPM. So a 2-piece drive shaft that'll handle the power and revs is definitely the best way to go. Good. Straight down.
Right there, man.
Yep.
That
That looks awesome, dude.
Now, you've already seen us install our custom shaft we got from Denny's drive shaft. And here's a tip straight from Denny. Torque your U-bolts. Depending on your U-joint size, it's between 17 and 20 foot-pounds. Over-tightening can distort the U-joint cap, causing premature failure. And that's the last thing you need, whether it's on your street truck or something like this pushing over 600 horses. Hey, thanks for watching Trucks. See you guys next week.